Fit to Love, episode 149, the best food to burn belly fat.
Fit to Love is physical, emotional, and spiritual fitness to achieve the happy life you deserve. From exercise to cooking, relationships, and spirituality, you'll find all the inspiration you need right here with our host, JJ Flizanes.
Hello and welcome to Fit to Love Wellness Wednesday. Today's show, the best food to burn belly fat. Drum roll, please. We have back our very favorite guest, Jeanne Peters. Jeanne Peters is a healthy aging expert with a mission to help women and men feel more vital energy through the healing power of whole foods and lifestyle medicine. In practice for over 33 years, she specializes in helping to optimize women's hormone health, digestive and thyroid disorders, and how to break through weight loss resistance. She co-founded the Nourishing Wellness Medical Center with partner Dr. Jeanne Peters, who specializes in bioidentical hormone health and homeopathy for men and women. She was voted California Dietitian of the Year by her colleagues for her nutritional expertise and was recently certified in clinical homeopathy. Welcome back to the show, Jeanne.
Hey, JJ, thank you for having me. I get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, how to enjoy more fat.
Oh, yes, we love the fat. So, all right, Jeanne, so tell us, what is the best food to burn belly fat?
All right, drum roll. Yeah, it's going to be none other than grass-fed butter.
Grass-fed butter. So fat.
Right.
So fat is the best food to burn belly fat. Who would have
It's
thought
one
that?
of my favorites. Let's put it that way. I mean, I've got a number of them. They're all fatty, but this is one of my favorite because who doesn't love the delicious, smooth, and rich taste of butter? Come on, real butter, not like the deadly margarines that, we've all been told were, more heart healthy. There's so many nutritional factors that are actually in butter, JJ. And I'm talking about butter in which, well, we're fortunate because you and I both live in California. And in California, we have some amazing dairies in which literally these dairy cows are allowed to feast on grass year round. And by doing so, cows are amazing at being able to concentrate nutrition. And one of the things that they're able to get into butter is something called CLA, which is conjugated linoleic acid. It's an amazing nutrient that has not only anti-cancer properties, but it also has been shown to help burn specifically abdominal fat, and many bodybuilders we know use CLA to help build lean muscle. But when you can get CLA in whole foods, first of all, it's delicious, and second of all, it's you're getting it often in a dose that's better than what you could get in some of these supplements. So, for example, you're a Bulletproof coffee fan, right?
We did a Tasty Tuesday about how to make bulletproof coffee.
Sure.
Yes.
So, you're adding like maybe one or two tablespoons of ghee or butter into your coffee. I mean, that's a dose that, is adding 200 calories, but those 200 calories actually give a couple of benefits to men and women. One is that when they put the butter, whether it's in the coffee or let's say you throw it onto a yam or you put it onto, maybe you saute some mushrooms with it. What that's doing is it's not only increasing the amount of CLA, but it's also providing an ideal balance of these omega-3s. So butter, particularly from cows that are pasture raised, they have more of the omega-3s that we now know fight inflammation in the body and just help balance hormones. So you get more omega-3 versus the omega-6, which you classically find in many of the vegetable oils. So you're getting CLA, you're getting omega-3, but there's also one other thing in grass-fed butter. It's something called medium chain triglycerides, MCT. And we know MCT oils help boost your immune system, but they're real easy to access. Your body doesn't have to break them down to be able to absorb them through the gut into the bloodstream where the body can use them for energy. So the healthy fats in grass-fed butter, do some amazing things, including they help to satisfy your appetite. They control your blood sugars better because whenever you have fats, you slow down how quickly the carbs that you're consuming with that butter go into your bloodstream. So that's one of the ways they help you stay lean. But the last thing is that if you're eating something with butter, and let's say maybe you put in like a half a tablespoon of butter into your oatmeal, or you maybe use it in your coffee, you're going to have a satiety effect. You're not going to feel as hungry like you might have if you just had straight cereal that was like with non-fat milk. You just aren't going to get the same impact. So butter is got a lot of benefits. It'll help you feel full longer. And one of my favorites is because we live in California, we have access to a brand called Organic Valley, but there's another brand called Kerrygold Irish Butter. That label actually clearly states on the label grass-fed, and those cows from Ireland are 100% grass-fed on, beautiful green pastures in Ireland. So you can tell the difference because you can see the color. The color of the butter is actually a little more golden. So yeah, that would be my first food, and hopefully that's a great tasty way to begin.
I know I love butter. I use butter for every possible thing I can. Obviously, bulletproof coffee, we put it in the coffee. I've put it in, geez, everything.
Yeah.
So I love butter. And if you haven't seen a Tasty Tuesday, it's probably the number one fat I use for everything, butter and ghee. And if you're curious about, we're talking about all the foods that can help you burn belly fat, and they will all be fats. But we also did a whole show on fats that you're not supposed to use because they're unhealthy for you and they're going to have detrimental effects on both your brain and your body. So make sure to check that out. That was episode 102. What oil am I supposed to be cooking with? So let's move to the second one. What's the second best fat to help burn belly fat?
So here again, most people are going to be surprised by this, but I'm going to get into more of the details as to why. I would say grass-fed beef or grass-fed bison. It turns out that, most people, when they think of red meat, they think, oh my gosh, it's so unhealthy for you, and how could, red meat, help you burn fat? But again, when you change the diet of these animals so that you're having them feast mostly on grass instead of grains like corn and soybeans, that's not the natural diet of cattle or bison. So there's actually like a chemical change that happens with the way that those ingredients are utilized in the stomach of the cattle and the beef, and it causes actually hormonal distress. So, when you're eating, typical, grocery store beef, you are not going to go ahead and be burning belly fat, but you start switching over to using these foods that are, much higher in omega-3s, you're getting much higher levels of these omega-3 fatty acids that we just mentioned are so important for helping to balance your hormones and decrease inflammation. But there's another thing. Animals that are feasting on grass concentrate mineral nutrition. And it turns out that things like vitamin E are like 15, not 15, but about 3 times higher in grass-fed animal than, let's say, store-bought meat. And that vitamin E has got a special effect. I mean, it just has the ability to help improve how your body's is able to take up sugar and put it into the cells where the cells can use it for energy. So that vitamin E, without having to take a pill, just using the omega-3 rich grass-fed beefs can really help improve insulin sensitivity, improving the way that your body utilizes sugar for energy. It's also grass-fed meats they're higher in this conjugated linoleic acid. Again, so many studies have shown that CLA helps you burn fat and build lean muscle. So enjoy a little bit of butter on your yam and have it with a grass-fed bison.
So I had to retract, obviously, that the best food to burn belly fat is overall mostly going to be fat, but we threw the bison in there, which is actually a protein. So I think with the rest of the list we have to share is fat, correct?
Yeah, we've got a couple other fats in here, so let's go ahead and move on. We'll go ahead and well, even by the way, I got to just say, grass-fed bison, you go ahead and order, you get it from the store, like I get mine from Whole Foods. It's going to have a higher fat content than, let's say, your extra lean ground beef that you buy that's maybe from Ralph's or from more of the standard grocery stores. But that fat isn't something to be worried about. In fact, JJ, a really good litmus test to be able to prove that you're eating something that's got a better quality of fats is that when you cook up that steak or that hamburger that's grass-fed, chances are it's not going to ever get to become a hard fat like you would if you cooked a steak that was more grain-fed. So that's a litmus test. If that fat really doesn't harden up, then you got yourself a better quality meat.
Good. Okay. So what's a third choice? What's a third food of a fat
I
that's
think so.
good for
Yeah, yeah. A great one is avocado. Everybody thinks of an avocado as a fatty food, but it's so chock full of so many healthy fats that we just have to have that on the list. I mean, it's super high in monounsaturated fats, but it's also got a ton of the nutrients like certain vitamins and minerals, but even like antioxidants that we know if it's present in a meal is going to help you on a number of levels. One is that avocado just gives you a feeling of satiety. And satiety means I'm going to feel full longer. So I'm not going to be likely to overeat, to nibble, to munch in between meals. So that's a key thing. The other thing is that, when you go ahead and have avocado that's so nutrient rich, you get a feeling of satisfaction. Literally your gut triggers to your brain the release of leptin, which is a hormone that actually just helps you go ahead and feel like I'm satisfied, and you're less likely to have sort of those eating binges, or less likely to consume foods that, are the ones that tend to build belly fat, which is a lot of your carbs. So it's very calming and satisfying.
and delicious.
Yeah, yeah. So, I just think it's a really great, for me, it's just, it helps to reduce appetite. It's a satiating food. And I've had many patients who tell me, I can't find anything to eat, like a good snack that's convenient. I've had guys take to their office an avocado, and just keep a little bit of sea salt on hand and open up the avocado and eat half of it, get a spoon out and eat it. It's like, it's got a perfect, container. You don't have to go ahead and dish it out, just eat it right out of its shell and feel like, oh my god, I actually feel like that keeps me satisfied for 2 or 3 hours before I get home. So that's where it really can help to keep you lean.
Okay, avocado, yum. Grass-fed butter, grass-fed bison or beef avocado. What's number 4?
We have to go and talk about nuts, and let's talk about some of the nuts that people typically think, oh, they're too rich, there's no way I can have that nut. Well, it turns out that, I mean, walnuts and almonds are great, but people forget about things like pistachios and pecans and macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts is one of my very favorites because it's almost exclusively saturated fat, and saturated fats have some wonderful benefits. For anybody that's following a ketogenic diet, a very low carb diet, or somebody that's maybe on an Atkins type diet, or somebody who just has to keep their carbohydrate intake low because maybe they're diabetic and they're looking at ways they can improve their body's ability to burn their own fats, macadamias are key because a quarter of cup of macadamia nuts has only like 2 grams of carbohydrate. So it's a very low carb nut compared to many other nuts that have much higher levels. And so it's almost 100% exclusively fat. About 90% of the calories that are in macadamia are actually fat calories. When you get that much, when you get like almost 100% fat, you don't tend to overeat those foods. Like you could probably not, gorge on macadamia nuts. You would probably feel too full before you would actually overeat them. So fats have a way of stimulating certain chemicals in the brain that say, I'm satisfied, I feel complete. And they've done some studies in which they've actually followed that, where they looked at how much people could eat before they reached a point where they felt that they were full, they were complete. And so there's that aspect of nuts. But nuts also help you maintain good levels of your fat burning hormones. So, it can help control appetite. It can actually boost these hormones that we now know are responsible for using your own fat stores as an energy source. So, my favorite healthy nuts, number one, macadamia, number two is pecans, and number three is pistachios.
And if you want a really yummy, decadent recipe using raw macadamia nuts, episode 70, Tasty Tuesday, was raw macadamia nut cream.
Oh,
You
beautiful.
can have it with berries. You can have it with an apple. I mean, sometimes I just put a spoon in it and just have it as it is. It's so amazing. So make sure to check out episode 70, raw macadamia nut
Oh,
cream.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, JJ, because that's a little trick that I've used with my clients when they're trying to cut down body fat. And I'm working right now with both a woman and a man who are both in a contest, a bodybuilding contest. And so, as they're getting closer to their contest date, they have to get shredded. So they're really having to cut down carbs dramatically. And so, a little trick is to actually take, like, just maybe like a handful of macadamias, and just munch on that before dinner. And actually, it really helps to control the appetite so people don't have a tendency to overeat because they already have this feeling of satisfaction from those nuts. You probably get that even with that macadamia nut butter. Just taking like half a tablespoon of that can really calm down that appetite center.
Well, I love it for a dessert option with some fresh berries, but I also really also love it with, let's say, a peach. That's my actually favorite fruit to have it with and have it in the morning
Oh,
for breakfast.
beautiful. Great.
As a snack after eggs, but it's so amazing.
Hmm.
Okay, now wait, I want to talk about before we get to number 5, I do have a few more questions about nuts because there are a couple other nuts out there that may or may not be nuts and they're a little controversial, so I definitely want to spend just a little bit of time on them. But before we get to that, I do need to take a break and thank our sponsors. Having a hard time losing weight even when you eat well and exercise? You may have weight loss resistance. The Metabolic Makeover audio program will uncover the 7 factors of weight loss resistance and guide you towards identifying what to do about it. Discover what common foods and toxins hinder fat from being released from the body and how you can naturally increase your metabolism. Let Dr. Alan Peters, Jeanne Peters, and I walk you through the steps of weight loss resistance so you can overcome it once and for all. Visit the products page on fittolove.tv to download it now. If you are like most people who struggle with overeating, you may feel powerless over your habits and urges to eat. Powerless over what and how much you eat. Break the vicious cycle of emotional eating and take back your power over food with Dr. Lisa Gelper. Dr. Lisa Gelper has helped thousands discover their own power over food and help them to win freedom from the obsession and defeat that haunt yo-yo dieters, emotional eaters, and those who just hope to lose some weight. Visit her site at poweroverfood.com to read her articles, watch her videos, sign up for her monthly email tips, and check out her current classes. Again, that's poweroverfood.com. Okay, Jeannie, so we're almost done with the nut conversation. I want to talk about almonds and peanuts. You mentioned walnuts and almonds at the beginning, saying they were good, but your favorites were pecans, macadamia nuts, and pistachios. Besides the allergy aspect, let's talk a little bit about the benefits of almonds and peanuts. And I know peanuts aren't really nuts, and can we, because I love peanut and I know you love peanut and I'm not allergic and or sensitive and I don't think you are either. So I want to kind of calm that conversation about people who are so afraid of peanuts.
Well, I do have to say that let's just make a difference between the distinctions. So most of what I just described are tree nuts. So these are nuts that they grow in trees, and peanuts grow in the ground, so they're a legume. So when you have nuts that grow in the ground, like those peanuts, there's just because there's a lot of dirt, there's molds that can build up. So there's mold is an issue with nuts, and some of what we think maybe is what's causing people to react to peanuts are the molds. There's another thing called aflatoxins. It's like a natural occurring ingredient that they find in peanuts that, some people just really react to. So it is one of the 7 most common food allergies, which is different than a sensitivity. So there are a certain subset of the population that really reacts dramatically to peanuts. But the mold issue is there. It's just you're taking these nuts and you're taking off the shells, but the mold grows in the shells because if you've ever looked at some peanuts, you'll see like little holes, like little indentations on the outer shell. Well, some of that harbors mold because of the moisture. And because of that, you can't always get all the shells out of when you're harvesting peanuts. So some of that's probably getting into the peanut, and that's people react to that. So that's one downside. The other upside is, of course, peanuts are a great source of protein. So they're a great source of protein and a good source of fat. And for a lot of people, they can't imagine having a piece of bread without having some peanut butter on it. But for those people who are worried, I mean, there's so many other nuts now, like sunflower butter or almond butter. Almond butter is probably trumping peanut butter because it's so popular. And partly it is because it's got so many benefits, so many nutritional benefits.
I know it just doesn't taste as good.
Yeah.
I mean, I when I have to mix it with something, that's fine. But if I had the choice between almond butter and peanut butter, I'm going to pick peanut butter. But I do agree with you. Sunflower butter is probably closer to the taste
Yes.
of peanut butter than almond butter. And so anyone that hasn't heard of sunflower butter, I definitely encourage you to try that because that is another good substitute. But all in all, also just make sure that the peanuts are also highly genetically modified, right?
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that if you're going to do it, just make sure they're organic.
Right. Good. Good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We are on the fifth and final of our best foods to burn belly fat, which is fat. And what is it?
I got to talk about coconut because, coconut's just like the darling right now. I mean, there's just so many ways and so many forms that it's coming in, but coconut is just a type of, it's got a type of saturated fat that has these medium chain triglycerides, which is just amazing. I mean, there's just so many benefits. I want to talk to you about it. But also, coconut has a type of fatty acid called lauric acid. So it's a nutrient that has naturally anti-candida, bacterial, antifungal qualities. So it's great like in the gut to helping to support a good gut biome. So we're finding out that people who struggle with belly fat, many times they don't have the proper ratio of the good and the bad probiotics. They have too much of the bad guys, too many pathogens, and coconut oil just can help to improve the quality of the probiotics in the gut. Then they have the MCTs, which is readily used by the body. You can use it for energy. It's less likely to be stored as body fats compared to other kinds of fats. So, coconut oil is one that will be used more for energy first rather than being stored. So, that's another benefit. And then, just like all fats, it gives a feeling of satiety. So if you cook up your eggs, in a little bit of coconut oil, just that little bit of fat versus, let's say, just, pouring Pam on the pan, you're going to get a little bit more satiety. You may get a few more calories, but you're also going to get this feeling of satisfaction. So whether it's coconut milk or coconut flour or coconut oil, there's just a lot of benefits just naturally found in the wonderful, coconut.
I'm glad you just mentioned that. I was going to ask you about coconut cream because in a lot of the recipes on Tasty Tuesday, I'm using a full fat coconut cream in place of, let's say, heavy cream or some kind of dairy.
hmm
And in fact, I use that coconut cream or the coconut oil for the bulletproof coffee, and I find them sort of
Yeah.
interchangeable. So I just want to make sure that we're getting the same benefit from that full fat coconut cream as we are
Oh,
from a
yeah.
coconut oil.
And then the other benefit, I mean, even though we're talking about fats, I just have to say that even coconut flour, it's such a high fiber flour compared to almost all the flours that are out there. And it's higher in protein compared to most flours that are out there. Plus, it's gluten free. So, I don't know if you've experimented much with coconut flour, but that could be, maybe this
Oh, yes. Oh,
beautiful.
yes.
So, it's a great thing to maybe incorporate in one of your Tasty Tuesdays.
Absolutely. Tasty Tuesday is, I believe, to date 100% paleo.
Mm,
I'm pretty sure we have not strayed
high
from
fives.
anything paleo. So I'm pretty sure every baked good, and there's a few, has only almond meal or coconut flour in it. And I think that's the only time I've used any kind of flours. So there'll be a departure at certain times because I definitely want to show people the gluten-free sourdough bread that I was able to make. And just, I'll put some things in there because, there's a pumpkin bar that I really love that's gluten-free and I haven't made it paleo yet. So around holiday times, I'll definitely add in some treats. But generally speaking, the Tasty Tuesday is mostly paleo.
Well,
So yes.
paleo gal, my kind of gal.
Yep. Well, because people are, I had some people over for dinner recently and I even made like a little menu to give to them so they knew what they were eating. And I did 3 of everything. I did sort of 3 dairy-free, nut-based cheeses. I did 3 proteins. I did 3 vegetables plus a soup. I did 3 desserts, and everything, all the fats were coconut cream, butter, and coconut oil, and everything minus there was one little treat, but minus that one little blip of treat over there, everything was paleo. And I wanted them to, it was gluten-free and paleo. And I wanted them to understand that because they're people who have cooked for us before, and we've been out together before. And so if you haven't tried some of these foods, when you hear that paleo or gluten-free or dairy-free, some people automatically just think, oh, it's not going to taste any good, or it's going to be weird. Or
Right.
back in the day when these foods kind of came on the market, they did. Some of them, some of the gluten-free breads were terrible. And, but over the years, we've refined it and things are getting better. In fact, what's coming up on the show, if I haven't already published it, is a cheese bread, a paleo cheese bread, right? And the crew loved it. They're like, we're doing cheese bread? Oh my God.
Yes.
And, of course, it's non-dairy cheese and it's a paleo, it's tapioca flour.
Yeah.
So,
oh, that's all. Yeah,
so
it's just great.
I want to make sure people taste these foods because I'm a foodie. I love food. I love to cook and I love to bake. And so when you experiment and start trying some of these foods, you don't miss it. And the compliment that I got was, this is just food. I would order and eat all of this. It's all wonderful and not know any different.
Exactly. I think that's key. I think a lot of people think, oh, I can't do paleo because you're eating meat all the time. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. Maybe for some people's version of paleo, but there's such a wide variety of other foods that can complement, that piece of, let's say, grass-fed beef if you had it. But there's so many other things that we could include. So I'm glad you're getting the word out, JJ. People need to understand that.
Yes. Now, if someone is listening to this and they're loving hearing what you're saying and they want to work with you, they want help with their diet, they want help with healthy aging, maybe hormonal balance, they want to have some testing done to figure out what they do need, how can they contact you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. I'm with the Nourishing Wellness Medical Center. So if you're here in Southern California, we're in Redondo Beach, and you can go to our website, nourishingwellness.com, or go to my Facebook page, Nourishing Wellness Medical Center. You can get tips just like JJ. We're posting tips all the time, and certainly ask questions about some of the ways that you could get tested to find out if your body's in balance. There's lots of testing that we can do that's covered by your insurance, and can really give you better clues about what's really going on. So yeah, thanks for letting me share that.
Oh, of course. And you can find Jeanne just about every other week on the Fit to Love podcast show, whether it be on an audio or a video. And so make sure to check out some of the other shows. And if you enjoyed today's show, please share it. We'd love to spread the word about what the best food is to burn belly fat. And we'd love to hear from you. So come on over to fit2love.tv and let us know how you like today's show. And if you have any questions, maybe you want some recipes, or maybe you have a recipe that you'd like to share with us about some of the ways to use the foods that we talked about today. So Jeanne, thank you so much for being here yet again.
Thanks, JJ. Be back. Look forward to it.
Looking for an engaging and inspiring speaker? Does your group need a good jolt of positive thinking? Look no further than JJ Flizanes. Visit her site to check out her most requested topics and video examples. jjflizanes.com. That's jjflizanes.com.
The Fit to Love podcast show offers you 6 days a week of helpful content to achieve the happy life you deserve. Movement Mondays and Tasty Tuesdays are weekly videocasts, while Wellness Wednesdays, Thoughtful Thursdays, Freedom Fridays, and Sexy Saturdays are audio-only shows themed every week to address your holistic life and needs. If the show inspired you, we would love for you to share it and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us today. Head on over to fit2love.tv for recaps of every show, resources, and to join the community. That's FIT2LOVE.tv. Have a fit and fabulous day.